Good, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Paideia. Today we are joined by Vulani, and Sheena will do a short introduction for us. Welcome.
So, morning, Daniel. Good to see you again. I see you've got your beauty light on.
Yes, of course.
And you meant to say, I see the same thing with you, Sheena.
Yes, Sheena.
So this morning we have Vulani Baloyi. She's an experienced attorney. She's been she's done bargaining counsel work for many years. She's an experienced commissioner, or she has done commission work for the CCMA, and is very experienced in that. She's recently become a mediator and is accredited with ADR Network SA. So just a little bit more about her that I know of, and then Vulani can introduce herself and tell us more about her. But she has been with the Department of Transport. I think she still is in the role of resolving minibus taxi industry disputes. And more recently, she's mediated one of the first of the 100 days of divorce mediation mediations that we are doing in that project. So we'd love to hear from her. She is also going on the journey with us in medico-legal mediation, where she's going to start helping us with personal injury, medical negligence, and road accident mediation. So it's really an honor to have her as part of our network. A big honor, because she's such a wonderfully and diversely experienced attorney and dispute resolution practitioner. So you take it away, Dan.
So, Vulani, will you tell us a bit about your background in mediation and what you've been busy with, and how did you come about involved in mediation?
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Sheena, for the opportunity. I've been trying to resolve conflicts, I think, for the past 20 years or so, in the sense that I'm an attorney, as Sheena indicated, but I've been in the labor industry. So in short, I have been mediating conflict relating to labor law between employer and employees, obviously. But apart from that, I have, for the past 17 years, been involved in the transport industry, where I resolve, I and my team, obviously, we deal with resolution of conflicts amongst taxi operators and bus operators. So it's in the public transport spectrum. And I'm also passionate about alternative dispute resolution mechanism as opposed to litigation. I always say, why do we litigate if we can mediate matters? Why do we have to mediate? It's cost effective. We get speedy resolutions of our disputes, and we are also able to restore relationships. And in a mediation space, parties are able to ventilate what they would otherwise not be able to do in the formal court setup. You know how intimidating lawyers can be at times, how intimidating even judges or magistrates can be, even to lawyers as well. Now, when you get a client or a party who is already disadvantaged in the sense that she or he has been staying with this person for so many years, they've not been speaking together for so many years, but then they have to go to court, and when they go to court, they are subjected to secondary intimidation, wherein they'll be asked about those private issues that you don't feel comfortable ventilating in that kind of arena. So I'm happy to be part of the first case in our province as far as mediation is concerned, and I'm honored and humbled by that opportunity.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And so yes, you've taken part in the 100 days of divorce mediation that has recently started. Do you want to tell us a bit about the current update and how did your first case go? What was the outcome?
Okay, thank you. The case went pretty well. Why do I say it went pretty well? Because you know, it's the first of its kind. We are having this as, you know, I would say it's a pilot project, but I would say as far as the court structures are concerned, they were actually helpful in the sense that the magistrate had already allocated the matter. The registrar was ready for us. We had in offers wherein we're able to attend to our matter. Although it was a small office, I'm saying it was a small office in the sense that when you have two parties who are divorcing, you're not supposed to make them sit at anything 2 meters apart. It should be more than that, because you know they have their own issues that they have taken from home. Although we try to say to them, you know, when you get to a mediation space, you must forget your emotions at the door. You might want to pick them up when you leave, but when you get into that space, you must, you know, be a totally new person altogether, to say, I'm here to mediate, I'm here to ensure that we lay this matter to rest for you know, for the last time. We won't be going to court. We are saying that we are here to put finality into this issue. But
Okay.
we were there for about from 9 o'clock up until 12. We had a breakup session in between. When they came, isn't that even for the lawyers, it was both of them, it was for the first time they were attending mediation. I had to take them through the process as to what it entails, and to say to them, you know, mediation is not there to take work out of their offices, but it's there to assist them as well, in the sense that as mediators, we also require the presence of lawyers, because they are sounding boards. They will be able to help us in terms of drafting the settlement agreement in cases where we have complex legal issues that need interpretation. Their lawyers are there to interpret, because as a mediator, you cannot sit there and profess to be a party's lawyer. You are there as an independent person, and they must consult with their own lawyers.
Oh yes, of course.
So Dan, if I can just make a couple of comments.
Yes.
So I think what Vulani says is very important, because, you know, there has been this sense that attorneys and advocates might be afraid of mediation. However, isn't mediation and or arbitration a wonderful opportunity for attorneys and advocates to progress their clients' matters, albeit in a different forum, and a non-adversarial forum, which could be a more healing forum, less traumatic. I love what Vulani says about the secondary trauma of, you know, having to ventilate your very personal stuff in court, which is the quintessential public square, isn't it? It's going and having a hearing in a public square. So the mediation space is a very private and can be a very sacred space. And that is how we train our mediators to view it. You're setting up a sacred space for the parties to have very tough conversations, but in deeply respectful ways. It's not always as easy as it looks, but mediation can also be modified for very high conflict matters, where instead of having the parties face to face, we can have them in different rooms, or on Zoom we can have them in different breakaway rooms, can't we? Speaking of Zoom, COVID-19 and this particular pandemic has ushered in a wonderful space for ADR and mediation, precisely because it's not dependent on court structures or any formal structures. We can set up a mediation or an arbitration almost immediately on Zoom, And that means, like, for example, I was chatting to Vulani before because of her experience in the transport industry. I got a referral in Bloemfontein where there are transport-related issues and conflicts. And I was still thinking, you know, who can I get? And then I had this conversation with Vulani, who lives in Polokwane. But there's a real possibility that we can set up that mediation with someone experienced in transport, regardless of the fact that she's in an entirely different province, because we can set up these matters quickly, expeditiously, economically, conveniently, practically on Zoom. And which, as you know, we've been doing for the past, 7, 8, 9 months with a great deal of efficacy. But yeah, so and the other thing I wanted to point out was that the matter that Vulani mediated, it's so wonderful to hear that the project is unfolding so seamlessly. So she did go to the court. There was a room available. The registrar was prepared. Everything was prepared. So the courts and the various stakeholders in that particular province where this project is starting to roll out are really bought into the idea of mediation. So it's a wonderful thing, and it's a wonderful project, and we were so happy to have someone of Vulani's caliber handling one of the first ones for us.
Yes, it's been a wonderful journey, yes. And Vulani, do you have any other divorce mediations coming up? Are you assisting with any others during these 100 days?
I would love
we've got some lined up for her. Sorry to speak at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. So Vulani, for the obviously for the 100 days of divorce mediation, this is to alleviate cases on the court roll. Can you maybe talk a little bit about the importance of divorce mediation, especially with regards to gender-based violence, and how we need to assist people who don't have access to divorce mediation?
Okay, I think, Danielle, mediation advocacy is very important. As I was sitting and mediating on this first one, I was just thinking to myself that maybe it's important for maybe ADR networks to go out there, or lawyers or mediators, not necessarily who are aligned to any organization, to teach people about mediation. Why am I saying this? Because at that mediation, one party was specifically, the defendant was specifically saying, you know what, madam, this matter has been going on for the past 3 years, and I want it to be finalized. There's no way I'm still going to continue, being subjected to this type of trauma. But I was just thinking, if maybe during the early stages, when the summonses were issued, the parties had been informed or had been given a chance to say, apart from going to court, we have this alternative wherein your issue will be resolved speedily and you won't have to pay an arm and a leg. And at the end of the day, it's gonna be your settlement, as opposed to somebody else being the judge or magistrate imposing a decision upon what should happen post-divorce. Now, as people people on the street, who are subjected to this gender-based violence, I think for them to go to court to consult attorneys, you find that most of them are not even employed. They rely on their partners or on their spouses for support. So how do you tell a person that, can you give me 6,000, I want to divorce you? It's just not possible. So maybe we should also engage the legal aid We should also engage all formations which deal with gender-based violence, to say that as an alternative, we are there to assist as and when there are people who want to divorce, people who feel that they have had enough with their spouses, but they don't have any source of income, and they cannot rely on any other person except for this perpetrator of violence. You know, even that day, when they were talking, as parties were deliberating, I could feel that at some point the emotions were too high. I was just saying to myself, it's good that they are no longer staying in one house. Were they still staying in one house, go back into the same house? What happens beyond, you know, people going to court? You know, when you have to go and sit or around the table with this person, or see him pass in the kitchen where there are kitchen knives, and, or, you know, all those things, it becomes a problem. But if we were to, maybe together with the courts, obviously, we run workshops, or, you know, advocacy, just to assist as and when we can, I think it will a great deal into alleviating this gender-based violence, because a lot of people are dying today. There's an incident that happened, I won't mention, where about 2 or 3 weeks ago, wherein children were killed. People were on separation. I just thought to myself, had that issue been resolved earlier, those kids will still be alive. It's very much unfortunate, but it's up to us who are in the know, you know, to go out and assist these people who are so disadvantaged, who don't know. Because mediation, even lawyers don't know. I can tell you that even on this one, the other legal representative, you know, was quite happy with mediation. But from an angle, I could say that the other one was uncomfortable. But I know the reason why lawyers will still be uncomfortable in divorces, more especially where marriages were in community of property. It's because of the issue of pension. It's a very sticky issue. It's a very sticky issue, because in the sense that, you know, at times we work with contingency, wherein you say that if you are able to get that for me, it means 25% is yours. You see, a lawyer has something to lose if ever you don't go along those lines, regardless of whether there is light or whether your client has a case or not. You know, it's an issue of trying. If we don't win, we don't win. But if we win, I'll get my 25%. I think that's where we'll get a problem. Our hurdle, that's where our hurdle is. But other than that, people are prepared to settle. People are prepared at any time to settle.
Yeah. No, wonderful. And yeah, I know that in that particular mediation, you were dealing with a very complex legal issue of a forfeiture of benefits. There was an application for forfeiture of benefits. But yeah, it's an opportunity for you to get with the parties and say, well, look, what's a court likely to do, and how long is this likely to take, and give the parties an opportunity to do that reality checking, and then go away and speak to their attorneys and ask them some really, really, you know, forthright questions. So there are all kinds of benefits to mediation. And I think what you're talking about in gender-based violence, you're going to be happy to know that Mpho Madingi of ADR Network Limpopo is engaging with the stakeholders, and they're trying to achieve exactly what you're talking about, so that mediation becomes a part of alleviating the plight of the person, the vulnerable person stuck in a violent situation that can't afford to litigate these matters, and therefore would often stay in these situations and maybe even until the worst happens, like there's a killing of women and or children, which we know unfortunately happens all too often. So yes, ADR and mediation can play a very central role. As you know, my own ADR practice is extensively in sexual violence and domestic violence matters. So there's a wonderful role to play there. Yeah. Dan,
Yes.
anything more from you?
No. I just I think we've spent some good time today, and just want to say thank you again, Vulani, for joining us today. Is there anything else that you would like to say or add?
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Just one thing. I realized that on that day we spent some time doing the paperwork in terms of the all that paperwork that goes with mediation. I was thinking maybe in future, let's make sure that we liaise with attorneys, we liaise with the parties, that the mediation agreement should be signed a day before. And when we get to mediation, we just straight away do what's necessary, as opposed to spending maybe 30 minutes sorting out the ground rules.
Okay, yes.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
And Sheena, do you have anything else to add?
I'm afraid my dogs have started barking, but I think we've said everything.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you again. Cheers, Sheena. Bye, Vulani. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.